What's behind the current ascent of C-pop?
Let's answer that question in this video.
For those familiar with my old channel, I've been talking and enjoying C-pop and making content about it for years, and now it's gradually gaining popularity.
As you probably know, China is the world's second largest economy and is poised to become the largest. On one hand, this is because the US, well, doesn't really try to make things difficult for China, and preferring instead to leave a fascist in a position of government responsibility who is economically regressive. On the other hand, China's economic trajectory is strategically guided through state planning, directing investment and resources to systematically build and fortify its industries. So, planned economy. There are numerous examples of sectors where China has become a major player thanks to this approach, such as the chemical industry and automotive manufacturing.
But I want to give a quick example that didn't work out. Football. Around 2015, Chinese clubs started signing aging stars and paying them absurd salaries, often partially subsidized. The goal wasn't just domestic, it was also to make the league more profitable. However, this was uncharacteristic for China, a short-term, hastily planned initiative that was soon abandoned.
The hegemonic football structure in Europe was simply too dominant, so China didn't push it further.
Looking at Saudi Arabia, we can see that they are preparing for 2034, and it works better for several reasons. First, the timing is more favorable for Saudi Arabia. Second, the market of stars was better at that moment, as bigger, more old stars were available. And third, the goal was never to generate immediate surplus value. Prestige and image enhancement are the main short-term objectives, not instant capital farming. In China, the focus didn't appear to be on reputation building, which also explains why China directs its resources toward other industries.
So, for those who aren't familiar, C-pop has been around for years. It just never really broke internationally. Maybe there were a few exceptions, and through the K-pop bridge, some artists or even groups got some recognition. But there's never been a true explosion. I wouldn't say we're at the point of an explosion yet. Rather, a hype is forming, and we might be on the verge of a new era.
C-pop is roughly at the point K-pop reached in its second generation.
Only now, everything is moving faster. I couldn't find anything serious that would meet my research standards to present it as factual. So whether China officially supports any C-pop companies or labels directly remains unverified. Only indirect indications exist.
What I did find, however, are structures that generally support music culture. This means we can't say exactly how strong the state influence really is right now. Sources are lacking. But for our purposes, a rough orientation is enough. We can observe the mechanisms, we can see the dynamics, and we already know how much the state influence in China is, which allows us to infer the structural relationship between industry and state.
Looking at other forms of state support in China, and considering that the majority of Chinese industry is already subsidized, it becomes clear a progressing, plan-based, state-directed economy like China will sooner or later systematically invest in its own pop culture industry. Or maybe it already has, or is doing so right now.
On the topic of the language barrier, I just want to make one request. Please don't comment that it will never happen because of the phonetics of the language. First, I genuinely consider that an inconclusive, superficial argument. I don't want it explained to you around phonetic foreignness or the familiarity of sounds in a language, and also then try to compare it to K-pop, which also needed time to globalize. Or argue that, like K-pop, multilingual songs and strong hooks could bridge the gap. In this video, I only want to make the prediction that C-pop really can become a bigger thing. First came J-pop, which went big through anime culture. Then K-pop globalized and reached new dimensions. And maybe soon, it will be China's turn. By the way, China is already heavily participating in anime and other entertainment industries. So anyone who thinks phonetics alone is a real argument or provides any negation value in this discussion isn't just wrong. They fundamentally shouldn't be participating in these debates at all. I wanted to make this video because I see a trend, and I wanted to share with you the dynamics driving it. Of course, C-pop won't become as big as K-pop in the next few years, but you shouldn't be surprised if you notice more and more Chinese music appearing, and C-pop gradually establishing itself. That would be nothing other than a logical consequence of China's state-planned economic strategy.